1981, southern Angola. A convoy moves slowly across a dead, empty gravel road under brutal afternoon heat. Then, without warning, the ground explodes. A military truck disappears into fire, dust, and shattered steel. Men are thrown through the air. The road collapses beneath them. And somewhere nearby, sitting almost mockingly in the dirt, is this tall, awkward, silly-looking armoured truck that soldiers couldn't stop making fun of. Seriously, it looked ridiculous. Too tall, too bulky, weird V-shaped belly, tyres sticking out like a farm tractor. It looked less like a war machine and more like something welded together behind a rural mechanic shop after 3 bottles of beer. And somehow, that silly truck kept surviving explosions that turned normal military vehicles into scrap metal. The vehicle was the RG-31 Nyala, and despite looking completely absurd, this South African armoured truck became so effective that the United States military would eventually spend over $5 billion trying to copy the exact same idea behind it. That's not exaggeration, because before the Nyala, most armies still designed vehicles for bullets, not bombs. Their trucks had flat bottoms, low suspension, and almost no protection against landmines or roadside explosives, which was a massive problem during the border wars of southern Africa. Soviet anti-tank mines were everywhere, hidden under roads, buried beneath dirt tracks, waiting for patrols. Standard military vehicles didn't stand a chance. Once a mine detonated under a flat-bottom truck, the blast travelled straight upward into the crew compartment. The vehicle itself became the weapon. Then South African engineer Dr. Vernon Joint came up with an idea so simple that military officials initially thought it was stupid. Instead of resisting the explosion, redirect it. That strange V-shaped hull underneath the Nyala wasn't there for appearance. It pushed a blast away from the passengers instead of directly into them. Add high ground clearance and shock-absorbing seats, and suddenly soldiers could survive explosions that normally killed everyone instantly. It sounded too simple, too ugly, too silly, until the tests started happening. One early blast test became legendary. A prototype vehicle was parked directly over a buried anti-tank mine. Inside sat a sedated baboon strapped into the driver's seat. The mine detonated. The explosion lifted the vehicle off the ground. Dust swallowed everything. When the smoke cleared, the baboon survived with only minor injuries. That moment changed military vehicle history forever. Over the next 2 decades, the RG-31 Nyala evolved into one of the most battle-proven, mine-resistant vehicles on Earth. Built for survival instead of appearance, it could withstand devastating explosions beneath its wheels while carrying entire squads across war zones. Then came Iraq and Afghanistan, and suddenly the Americans had a serious problem. IEDs were tearing Humvees apart almost daily. Convoys were getting shredded by roadside bombs. Entire patrols vanished in seconds because traditional vehicles simply weren't built for that kind of warfare. But the RG-31 was. Canadian forces deployed the Nyala in Afghanistan first, and the results shocked everyone. Again and again, these silly-looking trucks absorbed blasts that should have killed everyone inside. Soldiers climbed out alive from explosions that would have vaporized lighter vehicles. The Pentagon noticed immediately. Soon the United States began ordering hundreds of mine-resistant vehicles inspired directly by the South African philosophy behind the RG-31. Billions of dollars poured into MRAP programs. Massive armoured trucks with V-shaped hulls suddenly became the future of battlefield survival. And it all traced back to the weird South African truck people laughed at years earlier. The Nyala wasn't elegant, it wasn't fast, it wasn't even particularly good looking. Troops complained about the height, the weight, and the awkward handling. But when the road exploded underneath you, none of that mattered anymore, because the silly truck kept bringing people home alive. And in war, that's the only thing soldiers truly care about. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from.